Welcome back to What is an Upset Tax Sale. I can tell you're really interested because you're still with me. Physical due diligence. So if someone couldn't pay $2,000 a year for taxes, do you think they paid to fix the roof when it started to leak? Do you think that they proactively replaced the roof after 20, 25 years when it was just old? Do you think they paid a guy to come clean out the gutters from the leaves that were causing water to back up onto the roof? No, they didn't do any of that because they're struggling financially. So you really have to be careful as far as condition with these properties because they've been neglected. If you're not paying your taxes, you're not paying repairs. So it's important that you drive by each property that you're actually considering bidding on, which really needs to be done at the last minute, because if you start with a list of 1,000 properties that then drops down to 3 or 4 days before the sale down to 50 properties, you don't want to look at 950 properties that you can't buy because it's not actually sold at the sale, right? So what you want to do is, in the last days before the sale, do your title searches, knock off the ones you don't want, and then get out there and drive around and check out the properties. Now, as people develop their businesses, they tend to get people that do that and drive around. But drive around and look at the properties, and unfortunately, you're only allowed to look at them from the street. You're not allowed to go on the property, to peek in the windows, to open the doors. You could do that with the owner's permission, of course, but you can't just do it just because it's on the tax sale list. These sales don't have an open house, like a Sunday open house for the sheriff's sale. Doesn't exist. So people often look to see if the house looks occupied. You can generally tell if it's occupied or not. The weeds are growing up, especially in the driveway, so nobody's been in that driveway in a long time. You can drive by in the early evening, see if the lights are on. Generally, you can tell if properties are occupied or not. When I was bidding at sales, I would always go up to the front door. I would knock. If I could see, inside the side window, I would look in. If someone was there, I'd talk to them, see if I could get into the house for a minute just to get a quick look around. You can count on these properties being in poor condition and also know that you don't have a right to go on the property. So what you want to do is look at it from the street and look for some key things. Number one, look at the roof line across the top. See if it's bowed or wavy or down on one side. Those are serious problems. If it's down on one side, it indicates a foundation problem. If it's bowed in the middle, there's some kind of a big problem in that house. I've even seen ones where there were fires in the house and it wasn't that apparent until you really looked at the roof and you said, wait a minute, there's a hole in that roof, which was a fireman axing the roof. And then you look at the eaves, say, wait a minute, there's soot. You can see it like dark staining under the eaves. That was from the fire coming out. These are tax sale properties. Sometimes it is a burned out property. I've also seen ones in the city where they're townhouse style, where the front wall is up. There's literally nothing behind that. It's like one of those old Western movie sets where, it's the front, but there's nothing in the back. So you really do need to, as best you can, knock on the door, peek in the side window if there's one, get an idea of the condition of the house, and just assume the worst. These are tax sale houses. They're being let go for taxes, so it could just be the condition. So you really need to be cautious about that. Also, when you're looking from the street, look at the windows. Windows should be either square or rectangular. If it's racked, meaning it's more like a parallelogram, that is a very bad sign. Again, a sign of a foundation problem because something is causing that window to twist, which really means the foundation is low on one side, right? It's not going to grow, it's going to get low. That's a serious problem, so you do need to be aware of that. Also be aware that these properties are generally going to be in sort of rundown neighborhoods and poorer sections of town. People who have more money have the ability to come up with the tax money, and they do. The people who are really struggling sometimes don't, and they don't have the friends with money, they don't have the family with money, so they're the ones that lose the properties. So one of our strategies in due diligence, we would pick a couple of zip codes, and they were generally in the poorer sections of town, but ones that were still okay. Not ones where there were 10 vacant houses on the street, but ones where it was just a poorer neighborhood, but where we could still go safely, we could still resell properties, we could still find a decent tenant if we wanted a tenant in the house. Those are the ones that we would work on, and we would try to stay within a couple of zip codes in small cities, like Norristown, Pennsylvania, for example, is a place that I would be buying. It's very small physically. So if you gave me 50 properties to look out in Norristown, I could knock them out in a day and a half, no problem, because you're literally just going around block by block. You'll probably see 1 or 2 houses on almost every block. Very easy to do due diligence under those circumstances because you're literally driving down the block. And by the way, one of the tricks I had, and this is a goofy one, but you're going to love this. I had a Polaroid camera. Remember those? They still sell them, believe it or not. and I would take a Polaroid picture, and I had an inspection sheet, it's a property inspection sheet. I would clip the Polaroid onto the inspection sheet, and then I would mark with a Sharpie marker the address of the property, and then I'd make my little notes like, looks like it has foundation problems, skip it, or vacant, or occupied. I would just write my notes on a short inspection sheet. And it was easy because when I would see the Polaroid picture, I could remember it. You can do it digitally. I think that's a harder way to manage it. The reason I think it's a harder way to manage it is you can't write on a digital photo with a Sharpie. It doesn't work. So I actually like the old-fashioned Polaroid type cameras. You can still get them. B&H Audio Video in New York sells them. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon like everything else in the world. Costs a little, like $1 a picture, but very, very much worthwhile. And the ones they make today are made by Fuji. So anyway, we would drive around and look at the properties, and then we'd have our list, say, down to realistically 30 properties by the time we got to the sale, when I had 1,000 properties to start with. And when I had that many properties, I was going to get a few properties at that sale. And I would go and bid, and you get them really, really cheaply. When I said at the beginning of the video, less than half price, I was understating it, if anything. We got properties sometimes at 5 and 10 cents on the dollar. Now then there were repairs to do. So by the time you add it up, you probably are at half price once you take into consideration repairs. But we're buying properties just for a couple $1,000s. The first property I ever bought in my entire investing career was way back in 1989. So I've been doing this for a while. I bought a little piece of land for $3,000, and it was just under buildable. It was 49 feet wide, needed 50 feet wide to build. I was very young and inexperienced at the time, so I couldn't really take on like getting a variance or something. So I eventually managed to sell that property to the next door neighbor who just added it onto their land, which is an easy way to do it. And I ended up making $12,000 in that deal on a little $3,000 investment. One of the things I liked about that, it was a $3,000 investment. What if it didn't work out? What was my total loss? $3,000. And chances are it will work out. You just have to chip away at these things. So you want to make intelligent bets. You want to make intelligent risks, and don't overextend yourself. If you're going to be dropping $100,000 or some really significant amount of money on your house and on your deal, you need to really have the due diligence dialed in. But if you're dropping a couple $100, just buy it and don't worry about it. You can buy 10 of those, have 6 of them work out and really crush it. So just understand it is just a game of that way. Another thing on due diligence that you need to be careful of with tax sale properties is they do sell useless properties. They sell little strips of land that are just a surveyor made a mistake when they subdivided land and there's a strip left over, or there's an easement for pipes, or there's a driveway easement or something that they're selling. Just meaning something that's just useless. Even a drainage ditch in a development. They build big developments, they put those ditches where it collects rainwater. Often people don't pay the taxes on those, and they go to tax sale. But do you want a ditch for rainwater? I don't think so. So you need to be careful, because in tax sale, you do have unbuildable, unused properties. My rule of thumb for that was 2 things. One, I wanted properties that were occupied. If it has a building on it, then it's fine. Even if the building doesn't meet current zoning and code, you still have a building there you're grandfathered in. The second thing is never, ever, ever buy commercial properties at a tax sale. Don't ever do that. There's a very famous case that I studied in law school that was actually outside of Norristown, where I used to be bidding in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. A local businessman, bought a paint factory. And the paint factory had open barrels of chemicals, because naturally they mix all kinds of chemicals to make paint. He didn't think much of it, but he got a letter from the EPA after he bid on the property saying, hey, you got open barrels of chemicals there, you have to seal those up and dispose of them in accordance with the EPA regulations, which just translates into super expensive. And so he just said, oh, forget it, I'm not going to do that. And he dropped his bid, meaning in that town at that time, you could pay later. And he just didn't pay. So he thought he was scot-free, but he wasn't scot-free. What happened, the EPA said, hey, sorry, buddy, you were the equitable owner. And as the equitable owner, you're responsible for the cleanup. And he said, well, I didn't put that stuff there. I didn't even ever set foot on the property. And they said, tough bananas. And he ended up with a $450,000 cleanup bill on a property he never actually owned in the way that you and I would think of ownership. He had an ability to own it if he just finished paying for his bid, which he didn't do. So bottom line with this, with commercial properties, you have no idea what chemicals might be there, what might have gone into the ground, what might have polluted the groundwater. Do not touch them. Anything that's been used as a dry cleaner. Farms are the same way, believe it or not. Do not ever buy a farm. The reason for problem with farms, they always have a section that used to work in the equipment and tractors where there's oil and chemicals in the ground. If it's an orchard, I don't know if you know this, but they spray often heavy metals on fruit in an orchard. Meaning, they spray the peaches and things with chemicals to keep them from being attacked by bugs. And these are heavy metals that they use. They do not go away in the soil. They don't attenuate, this is the word for it. They sit in the soil as pollution. And if the EPA comes along and says, hey, it's great, beautiful farm, your first 2 feet of soil are polluted with heavy metals from when they used to spray the crops, so you got to take the first 2 feet of soil and properly dispose of them. That is a life-changing financial thing, so you do not want that. So bottom line, buy residential houses, places that are already pre-built. Those are your targets in these tax sales. And also, I know that I'm full of sort of bad news in this video. I want to give you the truth about this. Upset sales are definitely not for the uninitiated, like I said. Got to do your due diligence, got to be careful. But the other side of that is incredibly cheap prices. You're talking about buying properties 10 cents on the dollar, maybe once you take repairs into account, 50 cents on the dollar. It doesn't take a lot of time to get really rich doing that. So just be aware, it's a lot of work and a lot of effort, but in life, with effort comes success and money and the things that you want. With no effort, nothing comes. It's like playing the lottery. Every once in a while, there's some dude down the street that wins a lot of money, but you have like a 1 in 100 million chance of being that guy. So that's not really a business plan. That's just a hope and a dream. So anyway, if you take this on, you can do really well with it. Also, if you don't like all this risk, just do the judicial tax sales. I'll cover those in another video. So you can see the judicial tax sale. We'll put a link to it up there. I'll put a card. That's one where you can learn about judicial tax sales. Those get rid of the title problems. The problems of conditional are still existing. So if you want to learn more about that, go see that video next. So next, if you want to learn more about this, there are 2 things that I have for you. Number 1, I have a video called How to Buy Tax Sale Homes. That's a great video to watch. That'll cover both upset sales and judicial sales. The second thing I have is this really cool business that I do. It's called Overages. And one of the unique things about tax sales is that when the property sells for more than the debt, which in tax sales happens all the time, when the property sells for more than the debt, that extra money can be available for the former homeowner to claim. They have no idea that this money exists. They have no idea that's even a possibility. So what we do in our business of Overages is we reach out to the former homeowner and say, hey, Sam, sorry you lost your house at tax sale. We found some money that you could potentially claim. If you're interested in working with us, for a percentage, we'll go and get the money. If we're successful, then we'll get a percentage. If we're not successful, it doesn't cost you a penny, so it's no risk to you. Would you like us to go get your money? So as you can imagine, for a lot of people, that's a great windfall because they've just had this big loss and now they can get a big unexpected windfall. And so people work with us. That business is called Overages. I've been doing that business for over 10 years. It is a wonderful business. I don't have to worry about title searches. I don't have to worry about coming up with cash at a tax sale. I don't need to worry about a place that looks like a Hollywood movie set that's fallen down behind. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I get to help people, which, what is good business? It's really helping people. I'm helping people who are flat on their back financially, so broke they lost their house at a tax sale, and I'm helping them get back on their feet again. So I really like the business. I think it's a very good beginner business also because it just doesn't have the risk. You're just doing a service. You're not investing or putting up money. And you could do it year-round also. It's not limited to like the sale we've been talking about today, which is the September upset price tax sale. You can do this year-round. So it's a pretty cool business, and you can do it all across the country. So if you're interested in that, I have a free gift for you. There's a short video, about 12 to 15 minutes, where I give an overview of the Overages business. And then if you like that, I have a longer presentation video where I explain the whole business. And if you want to get involved, you can get involved with it. So to see the shorter video, just go to my Intro to Overages video. We'll put a link there. And it may be an interesting thing for you. I think it's the greatest business. To me, it's amazing. So take a look at it. That's my suggestion. So 2 things for you. It's been great being here with you today. My name is Bob Diamond. I'm an attorney in Pennsylvania. It's been wonderful with you today, and look forward to hearing your comments and seeing you next time.